Hello, Gemini. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Gemini is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider hitting the subscribe button, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger. And I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Gemini, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we've got the Fool card. The Fool is wide open energy, right? Ready for life, ready to transcend past circumstances, has let go of the past, has let go of blockages and obstacles, is ready for life, ready for love, ready for abundance, right? The thing about the Fool is that sometimes in its folly, in its quest for novelty, in its freedom, it can be a little inconsiderate sometimes, right? So I think the Fool is trying to kind of navigate the world in this new way. It could be that we feel an inspiration, that we are inspired, you know. It has that association with the breath, like breathing in the fresh air. And what are we going to do with this newfound freedom, right? What are we going to do on this new path, this new quest? I feel like we're reinventing ourselves. We're going to build our new life. We're starting a new quest. I feel like we've transcended. We've leveled up. We've got infinite opportunities in front of us right now. We've been liberated from something. Let's put this card into a little bit of context, okay? Let's see what we're doing here. We've got a 4 of Swords. We've got a 10 of Pentacles. Ah, yes, the 7 of Cups in the background, of course. We've got the 8 of Wands up top, yeah. And we have a very, very important Prince of Cups in the future position. Okay? The Prince of Cups is someone who is very sensitive, very emotional, right? Wants to feel certain feelings, wants to not feel other types of feelings, right? Is kind of saying, I've had a 7 of Cups and I would not like another one. No, thank you. So we have a little bit of this kind of intellectual detachment going on. Okay, let's keep going. We have a 9, 9 of Swords, but a Princess of Cups. An 8 of Swords, but a Knight of Swords. So we're getting a handle on this mental energy, right? Because the Swords cards here are kind of, I don't know, they're putting a blockage, putting a stop on how we're feeling right now, or what we want to feel, or the opportunity for feelings, right? The Princess and the Prince, they both want strong emotional connections, right? We want mutual respect. We want a balanced relationship. We want perhaps some kind of a partnership. We want joy and love in our life. Okay, we want harmony and soul connections. We're moving away from this, and we want to kind of go forward with this authentic energy. But we have to get through this kind of mental blockage, which to me feels like it's part of our Princess of Cups. You know, we'll get to the Princess of Cups. This represents a psychological complex. Okay. Selecting the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. Oh, look at that. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set this one right here with Big Red Ant right on top. We're not going to look at that one until the very end. It will tie everything together, and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card is, put your prediction down in the comments. Now, the card that jumped out was the Ace of Pentacles. It feels like there's a gift. It feels like the universe is saying, here is something for you, right? Here is something for the Fool to do. It's almost, to me, it almost feels like the Fool is recently liberated from a very toxic situation, but now here's an opportunity to start something else. But the mind is saying, I don't quite trust that. I don't know about this, right? And I think really what's being activated here is our Princess of Cups, which is trying to protect us from getting involved in any other situation that might be emotionally painful again. Something we don't want this again. So the Princess of Cups is coming in and saying, well, maybe we should just avoid relationships. Maybe we need to keep a distance. You know, the Four of Swords is boundaries. But the Princess of Swords might be keeping things a little bit too superficial, a little bit too casual, a little bit too foolish, right? To where we're not going to allow ourselves any of these deep connections, the soul connections, right? Because the princess is just saying, no, I just want to feel good, and we're gonna avoid this by not allowing ourselves to go any deeper. You see, and so this is something that gets created as a protection against this, right? I think what we want is mutual love and affection. Now the Fool just got liberated from this, but still wants this very authentic, connected, mutually beneficial kind of relationship, right? A relationship built on equal give and take. A bond that goes beyond the surface. This is just surface. This is just, well, I'll hang out, I'll have friends as long as it feels good, but if it doesn't feel good, I'm out. Because I don't want to get into another toxic situation. But I think with the general energy, what we're realizing is that we're not okay with just the surface level stuff. Okay? We want partnership, we want collaboration. The Fool wants novelty, of course, but the Fool combined with our Princess of Cups is encountering new things, encountering novelty, but never penetrating beyond the surface of things. So we're meeting new people, but we never get close to them. We never really bond. We move away to something else when it starts to get a little too serious, and we push away. Okay? The Ace of Pentacles is saying that something's entering your life that we have the opportunity to really get to know, whether it's a new path, whether it's a romantic relationship, platonic relationship, a work thing, a new hobby, a new skill, an opportunity to do something creative or take a chance or take a risk. It's a path that's being presented to the Fool here, who again is recently liberated from a bad situation. Okay, but we're looking for that bond that goes beneath the surface. That's the way forward for you. Now, we've got the Fool as our only major arcana energy, okay? And that Fool card is saying that, yes, we've transcended a bad situation. We've been liberated from something that was very toxic. The Fool is very open. The Fool wants the novelty. But the Fool doesn't necessarily have a sense of direction. The Fool is just a feather on the wind. I'll go whichever way the wind blows, and that's fine. But with this Ace of Pentacles arriving too, it's kind of like there's something specific that's entering your life that the Fool, this free, open, and kind of joyful energy is going to want to interact with. And I think you're going to want to go beneath the surface there, but there's going to be some resistance to that. There's going to be a part of you that says, no, things are getting too serious. I'm going to back off. I'm going to go do something else. You know, the complexes tend to sabotage us when we're not looking, right? And that, I think, is the obstacle here, is the self-sabotage. That we've been protecting our own energy against any more Seven of Cups. That maybe this was years ago, right? But we've developed this very protective complex that says anytime we start to get too close to something, we're going to find a way to get out of there before we get hurt. Whether it's a business thing, whether it's a stamp collection, whether it's writing a book, singing a song, or getting involved with a friend, or a romantic relationship, whatever it could be. We have a resistance to really penetrating deep within there, okay? So we have our major. We have a little bit of fire. We've got water, water, water. We've got air, 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 and a little more air. and a little bit of earth, an ace and a 10. Okay, now this the situation that's arising, like I said, it's a new path. You're being given the gift of an opportunity. Okay, so we'll put the Fool now. The Fool's recognizing this Ace of Pentacles, but there's a mental blockage. There's a resistance to it. There's kind of like this, well, I don't know what I'm going to do here. This could be a romantic thing, a friendship. It could be a strong alliance. Okay, what we really want is a balanced and reciprocating kind of relationship. We want something that's going to be, it's going to be a bond. There's going to be something deeper there. Okay. I think to get to that point, we have to recognize the Seven of Cups in our background. And these cups represent either one situation or maybe a series of situations that were conflicts, that were toxic situations, right? Kind of maybe relationships that were manipulative. It's any occasion where we have gone deeper, connected with something on a deep level, and then we've gotten hurt, we've gotten betrayed, we've gotten stabbed in the back, or things didn't work out, things didn't go our way. Okay, these are those emotional wounds, so to speak, right? That may need a little bit of healing and some reconciliation just to find the emotional piece. Because right now, these are still affecting you. These could be way back here, years ago, right? But the Princess of Cups is how you're behaving in current relationships and new relationships. And to me, it feels like we're trying to prevent this. We're trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. We're still being very protective. It's the way you might have a scratch on you somewhere, and you might, or you're running and you got a stitch and you're going to kind of hold your side, right? You're going to put pressure on the wound. This is the card that's putting pressure on that wound, right? And it may be a long time ago. This is kind of like, this is the Band-Aid. This is that part of us that gets developed in order to protect us from having that feeling again. From going through a situation like that, we're kind of detaching ourselves from people. We're keeping distance. Now we're setting boundaries. Yeah, that's good. The Four of Swords is a very good thing. We need boundaries, right? But we have to recognize when those boundaries are preventing any good things from getting in, or we have these boundaries now that have become too restrictive. I'm not letting my good energy get out. I'm not connecting with things. I'm not getting close to anybody. I'm not really immersing myself in my work. I'm not feeling the connection between people or places or things. Okay. And so when something new comes along, we may have fun for a time, but then it starts to get a little bit too close, and we kind of cut things off. We maintain this emotional distance. Okay. And the Four of Swords is the shadow side of the Prince of Cups, right? The Prince of Cups wants connection, wants intimacy, wants a balanced and reciprocating, harmonious relationship with the world, wants to live authentically, wants to pursue the things that it desires and really connect with things. Okay, this could have been maybe a situation of codependency. Maybe this was a time where we kind of lost ourselves in a relationship, or we were relying too much on someone else. We put our emotional well-being in somebody else's hands, right? And it didn't work out so well. So now I think the princess is creating this kind of a fear of vulnerability, right? That we're struggling to sort of open our heart to others and be our true selves and be expressive of our own emotions and to just be kind of open emotionally. Right, we're struggling to open our heart to others. There's that blockage there. Okay. Down beneath the surface, we see the 10 of Pentacles, wealth. Right. I think there is an awareness that we need this sort of energy in our life, that we want to take things to their fullest expression, as part of our wholeness, a part of our kind of overall sense of like being alive and being part of the human experience. This is the card of your best life. This is like your pets, your plants, your people, right? This is not just empty surface level stuff, though. This is the the fulfillment. This is our life being built. We're building our life in a particular way. But we want the emotional component that goes here too, because this is just on the surface, I've got everything in life, but internally, emotionally, I'm not able to connect with it. See, we have the 10 of Pentacles, and it is the Prince of Pentacles that builds this card. What is the Prince of Cups trying to build? Well, the 10 of Cups, right? See, if we just have the physical reality, but we don't have the emotional component, this becomes an empty shell, becomes a vessel, becomes a church with no people, a dining hall with no food and no diners. And it becomes an empty restaurant, you know. No food and no people. So I think that, you know, because now we have the ace and we've got the 10, we're sort of recognizing that, okay, this could be something that really, you know, it could be a major part of my life. This could be something that is part of my best life. But how do I allow myself to open up and try to connect with this and see if this really is going to be good, you know? I think we have to cultivate self-love. All right? I think that's one thing that the Prince of Cups is trying to do, is be authentic. Right? We don't need validation from others. Right? That we're not really seeking that kind of validation from others. We're trying to just live our own authentic life. But I think underneath the surface, I think in the background, this unconscious sort of complex is preventing us from really, truly connecting with anything. Okay. So I think that some of the questions that are coming up to me are we being authentic? Are we being ourselves in our relationships, or are we just kind of being surface level, just, I don't know, emotional mirroring? Are we just kind of reflecting back just kind of basic surface level stuff about ourselves? Or are we really able to open up and be ourselves? Feel all the feelings that I'm feeling, allowing myself to get connected to people and forge those deep bonds, knowing that, well, yeah, of course, there could be a 7 of Cups around any corner. Any moment can be another storm. I know that. But I'm not going to let that prevent me from trying to connect with something and forging that deep bond, that spiritual bond. Because that's what the Princess of Cups is doing, keeping things just on the surface level. No deeper connections are being formed because any day could be a storm, and I don't want a storm again. It's kind of like saying, how do you prevent your boat from sailing into a storm? Don't sail the boat. How do you, to keep yourself from getting emotionally hurt, don't get emotionally involved with anything? And not just romantically, right? Friends, family, activities, any kind of thing. We start to get a little happy. We feel like, you know, universe, the world's going to take that away from me. It's gonna hurt, you know. So I think that we have to show up as our true authentic self in our relationship. We need to put this here, because this is the position of your relationships. Okay? And do you feel emotionally balanced? Okay, we've got a 9 of Swords, we've got a 8 of Swords and 8 of Wands. Okay. How much are we depending on other people for our happiness? Well, I think that might be what happened back here again. That we put our emotional well-being in somebody else's hands, and, well, every time something's going to happen, we're going to be disappointed. So we have to take responsibility for that, right? The 8 of Wands up here at the top, I think those past wounds are still affecting your behavior and how you react to people. This is a swiftness. This is a flash in the pan. This is, I like to get involved with things, but, you know, I can quickly discard things and go in a different direction. And that's part of the Fool energy, right? Because the Fool is just open to novelty. I like new things. I like starting things, but the Fool can be a little bit inconsiderate, especially when we have an 8 of Swords, which is, or an 8 of Swords and an 8 of Wands. I think we're repeating similar patterns, that we get really excited about something. Once we get a little bit close to that thing, we tend to go in a different direction. Okay? So this is a swiftness. This is the quickness with which our intentions or our enthusiasm or our focus might shift. And this could be different projects. It could be, well, you know, like for me, it's with books, reading books, right? I tell this story all the time. My Eight of Wands, it's a very simple, I'm a simple person, very simple analogy, but, you know, I have a lot of books that I want to read. And I'll say, oh, maybe I'm going to read this fiction sci-fi book over here, and I'll take it and I'll read a couple pages. I'll start getting into it, and then I just say, well, no, maybe I right now in this kind of time in my life I should be reading this philosophy book over here, and I'll take that other book and I'll start reading a couple pages, and I'll say, well, no, maybe I should read. And before I know it, the day's gone, and I didn't read anything. I never really got that deep into anything, and it's sort of, I guess, I don't like to use the phrase, but it's a fear of commitment. It's a fear of saying, gosh, I picked this book and that's the book. And I got to read it till the end. I'm going to read this cover to cover. That's a pretty big ask. Like, this is going to take me a few days, maybe a week, maybe a month. Am I willing to commit to something for that long? What if I do that and at the end I just say, that was a waste of time. That was the worst book I've ever read, you know. And so it kind of keeps me out just on the surface level. I'll read a few pages and then I'll say, okay, I'm going to just look at something else, you know. And so I'm just browsing. I'm at the bookshop and I'm just like flipping through a couple pages, skimming through the pages and putting it back, never actually committing to anything. I'm working on that now, where I'm kind of taking a book and I'll dabble here and there. I'll see what I like and I'll say, okay, this is the one. I'm going to read it till the end. Even if it's horrible, I'm going to finish the book, because that's what it's about. It's not about it's not about necessarily the wisdom that I'm getting out of the book, you know, but it's about me being able to pick it, choose it, decide, and then follow through, which is something this card doesn't really do very well. Okay, but again, it's our Princess of Cups that's trying to protect us from the pain, suffering, disappointment, and the swamp energy, the toxic energy of that kind of a situation where now I put my entire emotional well-being into one book. That book better not let me down, right? Even if the book's terrible, I feel good because, you know what, I did it. I took it, I read it, and, you know, sometimes we can still get halfway through a book and say, it's not worth finishing it. You know, but I think there's something that is strengthened in us when we are able to kind of follow through, at least with what we're doing. Because again, the Fool just wants novelty. And the Fool with an Eight of Swords and an Eight of Wands is never going to complete anything, never going to finish any projects, never going to finish anything at all, right? So how do we react when the emotional intimacy deepens? When somebody gets close to our authentic self, do we run? I'm out of here. See ya. I'm going to go find a different book to read. Yeah. Let's talk about the path of the serpent. And as we do this, I would like to ask for your subscription. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. These readings are totally free. The Nine of Swords here this is a very uncomfortable card, right? This is kind of saying like something's not right. This might be something that we kind of a repeating series of words and phrases, right, that we say to ourselves, the certain beliefs and values that we hold about ourselves. Maybe it's, I don't need relationships, I don't want relationships, I don't want to connect with other people, I have no desire to connect with other people, I'm not worthy of connection. This can really become a very severe cruelty to ourselves. This is a despair, okay? But there is something important here. There's value in despair. Because if we can recognize how we really truly are kind of treating ourselves, maybe we can do something about that. Maybe we can change the way we're thinking about we can change the program that gets activated when we start to feel a little bit of intimacy in life, and suddenly our stuff is activated, our complex is activated. And the complex is not bad, it's not evil. We might make the kind of higher level soul decision that it's a little unhealthy. But the complexes are here to protect us. The complex is a structure that has energy. It's a program that runs, and there's a button that gets pushed. And really, this is the divine light coming in and showing you where these buttons are. Okay? The tarot is trying to teach you how to become a better magician, how to cause change and conformity with your will, how to create your personality and your personal reality. And to do that, we have to let the light come in and show us where these things are taking place. Because if we don't pay attention, if we don't acknowledge that this little complex is kind of sometimes running the show, then we will feel this misery and we won't really know why. Okay? And I think we have to know why. This sometimes is a painful truth, and it realizes, okay, the reason why things aren't going, the reason I feel this way is because I have this complex that, in an effort to protect me, is sort of sabotaging my relationships, is not letting me connect with people in the way that I really want to, right? We have to do something to correct this, first of all, because this is a lot of negative self-talk. This is us being very cruel to ourselves. Let's do a Language of Flowers affirmation card. Virility. Shake it up a little. You got this. Right? The virility, right? The feeling as if we can do it, we can have the belief. It's believing in ourselves more than anything. Okay? We're trying to manifest our best life, which really includes healthy relationships, right? We need to try to focus on what we want to feel in a partnership. Right? Maybe we need to write down some affirmations, right? About what would be some positive things that we can tell ourselves about the kind of love that we deserve, the kind of relationship that we want. Right? Instead of the negative self-talk and the feeling like, I can't change things, this is just how it is, I'm never going to have a good friendship or relationship with myself or with a partner or with family or with friends or with the work that I'm doing or anything. Instead, some positive affirmations of this virility, right? This feeling of a youthful vigor, right? That I can do it, I can have these things. So let's do that. Let's write down some affirmations, and try to formulate into words and phrases what kind of love we deserve, what kind of love we want. And I think we need to continue living our life authentically. We need to embody self-love, right? Self-love. The love that we give ourselves is going to determine the kind of love that we attract. And so that's really important here. We feel like we're not being very kind to ourselves. We're not attracting very, very, very loving, supportive, or healthy things into our lives. Okay? So we have to be mindful of how we speak with ourselves so that we can be sure that we attract the kind of love that we want. The love you attract reflects the love you give yourself. So we practice self-care, we set boundaries, we honor our emotions, and we try to live authentically. We realize where our unconscious complexes may be sabotaging our relationships with other people as an attempt to avoid this kind of pain. We're going to focus on strengthening emotional bonds. Okay? Relationships flourish when both parties are sort of giving equally. When there is that reciprocity. Right? So we can express gratitude for those people who are supporting us, uplifting us. We can show an interest in the people in our lives, and we can make an attempt to try to get a little bit closer, to go beyond our own borders, right? And reach out to others in order to strengthen those connections. Okay? The Eight of Swords is a card of sabotage. And this is in the energy that you don't want. You don't want to sabotage your relationships. Well, so then we can do something to change that. The Knight of Swords is the mastery of our thoughts. Right? It's mastery of our thoughts. Okay. So with the Eight of Swords, it's kind of a card of, the repeating of patterns, that we keep looping back in on these same sort of habits, and we wonder why we're not happy. I want to replace the 9 of Swords with the 9 of Cups, right? Abundance, fulfillment, love, the satisfaction, the beauty and bliss and celebration on all planes, in all dimensions of our lives. We have to stop sabotaging ourselves, but we can't stop doing it until we recognize that we're doing it. And that's where the light of the Star card in the tarot shines into us and shows us where these knots of karma are, where these blockages are, where these complexes are, right? A complex is just a structure that has energy, and that energy can influence our choices. If we're not paying attention, things are just going to go wrong, and we're not going to know why. Once we look at it, we can say, oh, okay, that's a complex that's at work there. Once we bring it into the light of the sun, it's no longer in the shadow. We can integrate it. We can say, hey, you know what? Thank you for your service. I appreciate what you're trying to do to protect me from harm, from pain, from the old wounds. I'll take it from here. We're not angry at this energy. It thinks it's doing the right thing, protecting us. Yeah. And we've got our Knight of Swords there, which can make those decisions. Higher wisdom and discernment, that we can control our thoughts here. And it doesn't have to be the Princess of Cups determining what kind of limits we place on ourselves. Because again, it's the Princess of Swords that's saying, once I get a little bit too close to somebody and they start to slowly get a glimpse of who I am, I got to put the brakes on it and I got to go a different way. And then the sabotage comes in, and however that plays out in your life, that it's ruined, right? And so the Prince of Cups is realizing that letting people see who you really are is a good thing. People want to get to know you. People want to get to know you. Sometimes the Prince of Cups is denying ourselves the intimate relationships because we don't feel that anybody really is going to like what they see. That we don't want to be ourselves because we're worried about the reaction. We're worried about how we'll be treated. Because there's this 9 of Swords. Maybe we're not really valuing ourselves as we should, again, because we probably have experienced a pretty difficult time. Somebody else didn't value us very, very highly. That was a pretty rotten situation or series of situations. And that's what gave rise to the complex anyway, okay? So I feel like we've got a pretty good handle on this. I want to see what the mystery card is going to be for us. I think it should be a 10 of Cups. I think any of the good water energy, an Ace, a 2, a 3, a 9, or a 10 of Cups. Or maybe the Empress, or maybe the Wheel of Fortune, but I think it's going to be water. Yeah. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Let's see what we have. Oh, look at that. 2 of Cups, yes. That's perfect. Because this is a healthy relationship. This is love. This is reciprocity, right? This is two people supporting each other. This is the idea that we're giving and taking equally, right? This is a relationship that uplifts us. We're not depending on somebody else for our emotional well-being. This is self-love, right? That because we have self-love, we are able to offer love in an authentic way to others, and we're going to find that the right people, places, things, paths, ideas, projects, all these. It doesn't have to be romantic love, okay? Put your pitchforks away. We're going to attract the right things to us, okay? We're cultivating love within ourselves, and we're going to attract all that love to us. Platonic love, romantic love, divine love, right? We're not going to repeat any unhealthy dynamics. Okay. This is giving and taking. Maybe we can identify in our life how much we have. Maybe the Seven of Cups is that you've been the one to give, and you didn't get that love back. And so, of course, in an unbalanced relationship, we're not going to want to repeat that. We're going to develop defense mechanisms to make sure that doesn't happen again. Well, when those defense mechanisms get a mind of their own, right, they're going to shut down any intimate relationship because we're not going to get back into this. This is an unbalanced state. It's a 7. It's not a 6. I like this. I think this is a beautiful progression here. This is something that we want, something that we're ready for, something that we believe is possible for us. We feel like we deserve it. Okay? This is two very strong individuals entities, intelligence coming together and creating something really, really magical and beautiful. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be you and a path. It could be you and your true self, that sort of thing. But it feels like it's talking about your relationships in general, spiritual, platonic, and romantic, that all have one thing in common: you. It all starts with you and how you value yourself, how much you love yourself. This is not self-love, okay? So we have to start with that if we're going to cultivate any kind of beautiful relationships, whether they're romantic, friendships, whether even business relationships, We're looking for that bond that goes beneath the surface. That's what we have here with the Two of Cups. Now we're going to do an extended reading. If you want to stick around, there is a link in the corner. There's a link down below. We're going to do an I Ching hexagram. We're going to do some oracle cards. New readings for Gemini Mondays and Fridays. Okay, be sure to watch both readings. I think this is very positive movement here. Okay. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. These readings are free. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.